Hello, everyone. Michael Jordan fans are the best. And today we're going to be talking about the 2025 season preview, the good, the bad, and the ugly. But first, let's welcome the panel. Hoop God, how are you today?
Oh man, I'm great, man. How's everybody doing? It's been a while since we all been right here together, dialoguing. I'm ready for another great episode.
Awesome. Jay Attack, how are you today, sir?
Doing well, sir. Thank you. Welcome back to you. Excited. My schedule's a little haywire at times, but whenever I can be on here, I enjoy it. So looking forward to talking hoops with you guys.
Absolutely. Welcome, AOH. You need to get some better conditioner, man. Your hair is just
every Sunday. You got to talk about my hair. It's obvious jealousy.
If only I could live that life. Welcome, Nick, NMB Sports. How are you today, sir?
Doing good. Glad to be here as always.
And Speam Engine, you said one of my fellow bald brothers. How are you today, sir?
I'm well. Thank you for asking me about my hair.
Well, he'll be happy to prove to you that he used to have some.
Listen, you asked for proof. I give it.
Photos, bro. I'm not taking you to dinner, bald or full of hair.
All right, man. It's cool.
All right, so let's get right into it. Hoop God, what do you predict will be the greatest improvement for a team, and who do you think is going to win the championship?
Honestly, man, and I'm not even mad at this because he was my former teammate. Well, he was on my team. Let me correct myself. But I like Alex Caruso being picked up by OKC because we saw what he did with the Lakers before they, shipped him out of. Well, I don't think they shipped him out of town. He took a better deal, which I don't blame him. But looking what OKC with that young core, they didn't really have that one lockdown guy that can just do everything, who doesn't need the ball to be impactful. And bringing him over there to that tough Western Conference to combat with the Minnesota Timberwolves and the Denver Nuggets and, of course, the Golden State Warriors and all the other guys who are still there and contenders. My team, on the other hand, I know we're just in rebuild mode. They picked up, what is his name, Josh Giddey. So who knows? We may be able to, build something around that core with him and Kobe White. I'm keeping my expectations low, similar to my football team. But I'll say my three picks I'm looking to come out of the West would be the Nuggets with the addition of Russell Westbrook, of course, the Minnesota Timberwolves, and then the Dallas Mavericks, Klay Thompson going over there. I think that's going to be a better fit for him. The Eastern Conference, I'm big on the Knicks, man. I like what the Knicks are doing. So those are my predictions going into the 24-25 season so far.
All right, Jay, what do you got to say?
Well, just to answer the question you posed there, I would say I'm gonna cheat on the most improved team. It's a cheat because I think Joel Embiid's hopefully his enhanced health conditions will result in the Sixers finishing. I believe they finished they were teetering on that play-in, like they were in the 7 or 8 seed. I think they might have got maybe to the 6 by the end of. They were either the 6 or 7 seed last year, but when Joel Embiid was actually in the lineup before he got his predictable knee injury last season, they were right on that 2-3 line. And not only now are the Sixers hoping for the increased health of Joel Embiid this year, but they of course get the prize free agent on the block in Paul George. So I would anticipate the Sixers are going to be right up there in those top 2 seed lines in the East. It's hard. It's very difficult. We can get into, I guess, both conferences in more detail as we go throughout the show. It's difficult. I hated the Celtics last season, despite the fact they clearly had the best lineup. But, just a history of choking like dogs for them in the playoffs. But once you get that monkey, so to speak, off your back, now you can play more freely and loosely in those opportunities and situations moving forward. So with all the talent they have, coupled with the fact they now know how to win, it's difficult for me to suggest any other team can come out of the East aside from them. In the West, I am so high this year on the Oklahoma City Thunder. Not only do they get the offseason acquisition of Alex Caruso, which was mentioned already. By the way, I don't know if it was mentioned how good he was defensively. Second team all last year, first team all NBA defense the year before. So he's an elite perimeter defender. Pairing him with Lou Dort, I mean, that's going to be like an impossible team to move the ball on the perimeter. Additionally, Oklahoma City, one of their major weaknesses last year was kind of their front court defense and depth. You know, we do have Chet Holmgren, who is an elite defender down there, but the guy looks like Jack Skellington from The Nightmare Before Christmas. I think, honestly, I weigh more than this guy. He is as puny could be. They need a little more bulk underneath the basket, and they go out and they address that in a major way by signing Isaiah Hartenstein away from the New York Knicks. You know, this is an Oklahoma City Thunder team, real quick, before I cede my time. They were second in net defensive, or second in total net differential last year. Second only to the Boston Celtics, who last season had the 5th best net differential all time in NBA history. Number 3 in that metric were the Timberwolves, and the Nuggets were a distant 4th. So the Thunder were that good. They were the number 1 seed last year with the 2nd differential, and now they improved their lineup to this degree with these offseason acquisitions. Give me the Thunder to win the championship this year, not just get out of the West. I'm going to go ahead and project that they'll win the title.
All right. AOH, what do you got to say? What about Kobe Bryant?
Man. Yeah, what's with all the comments complimenting Scap Attack's looks? This is interesting.
Oh, I'm gonna have to go back and look at that. I didn't see that.
Yeah, that's good.
They were saying how handsome you were.
Oh, thank you guys. Appreciate that.
I gotta tell you, I'm just filled with dread until LeBron retires. Like, most of my thoughts are what is the league gonna do to get the Lakers further than they deserve to be? And you know, a lot of people are like talking about how crappy the Lakers are and they're not going to go anywhere. I remind people the Lakers were not a bad team. LeBron James limited what they were capable of. If they actually find a way for LeBron to get out of the way, they'll go further. Secondly, the Laker killers, the Nuggets, are done. They looked so tired. I felt bad watching them in the playoffs last year, and then I felt tired watching Jokic try to carry Serbia. So I got no joy in another Laker Nuggets matchup. I just want to throw out at people who say this might be crazy. If you look at what the league has done for LeBron James, and if this might be his final season, and you look at what has been done, then it is not crazy to think that they're going to go all out to make this a success, even if it's not a success. Whether we look at the history of the 500 more free throws than the opposing team, or LeBron James strangely getting an MVP in the Olympics as he's ending his career, they will do anything for this man. So don't be surprised when you see teams that should be winning getting eliminated magically.
So who's going to win the championship, and who's going to have the biggest improvement?
Geez, it's hard. Unfortunately, it's hard to argue with Scap's logic. I don't know why the Celtics would get worse unless the lack of hunger in today's players becomes a factor. You know, they got the chip and they're happy. But the flip side of that is that the pressure and the burden isn't there, which could make them more successful. They're so stacked, they could almost cruise control their way into the finals. And I don't know enough about the mental maturity of Shea to back him. But yes, talent-wise, the Thunder should improve over last year, which would be saying they're going really far.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. Nick, what do you got to say about all this?
And no, Clay is not going to improve the Mavs. If he does, that will be, I got to tell you, I won't cheer against him. That'll be entertaining to see if it actually fixes whatever's wrong with him. Good luck with that, Nick.
Yeah, I mean, I think we got Clay on a decent deal, so it's not that big of a risk. But yeah, I essentially have Oklahoma and Dallas in the Western Conference Finals. I do think Dallas is going to get back there. I think they got better. I guess AOH doesn't agree, but Clay gives them something they desperately need, which was 3-point shooting. I don't think the loss of Derek Jones Jr. is as big of a deal as maybe the outside thinks it is. I think the reason why we love Derek Jones so much was his value and how much we were paying him for what he did. But I think we addressed it. We just need Clay to play a little bit of defense. And as long as he hits some open threes, I think we'll be just fine. Tatum thinks that the Celtics and the Mavs are going to rematch as well. But yeah, another year for Oklahoma to gel with that young core. I think they'll be back. I think they're the most dynamic. I think Denver doesn't, for whatever reason, I just don't think Denver and Minnesota have the firepower to sort of keep up with Oklahoma and Dallas. That's my opinion. Obviously, I'm hoping Dallas gets in the finals and they win it. A rematch with the Celtics would be nice. I think the Celtics are the only team in the East really to talk about. But I think in terms of who's going to make the biggest improvement, I think Orlando and Indiana, I would like to see one of them leapfrog to the second or third in the East. I think that would be kind of a surprise for one of those franchises to get a really high seeding, finish maybe number 2 or something in the East. And then I look for the Rockets. I think the Rockets are going to have a good year this year. I think they'll at least make the play-in. We'll see if they can sort of – I think they have a good mix of some young guys and some veteran guys. So I think they're trending in the right direction. I think they also are pretty dynamic. They can do a lot of things. They play good defense, things like that. It's coming together. So I think Houston will be my most improved. I look for them. And I think, I think Golden State's on the way out. I don't think they're getting any better. And I think they might miss the playoff. That might be another little bit of a hot take. I think they might just miss it altogether. We'll see what happens. I think Sacramento should rebound too. I think Sacramento will do better this year.
Awesome. Matt Speam Engine, what do you have to say?
I'm on a bit of a delay. Remind me, what are we starting off with? Just overall how we feel?
No. Yeah, who do you think is going to make the biggest improvement? Who do you think is going to win the championship?
Biggest improvement, even though I know they finished number 1 on the West. I think OKC's. I think they're going to go to the finals this year on the West side, just as a surprise team. So I guess you could say that's the biggest improvement. I think SGA is like primed for a big year. Championship. I don't know, probably the Celtics again. Quite honestly, I think this upcoming season is going to be play-wise a little bit. Dull's not the right word, but I think it's going to be a very feel-out season in terms of, who's going to be the face of the league and what team is dominant. Stuff like that. What I was going to kind of start off with was stuff that I felt like that was going to stick out from the gate. I'd love to see what happens with the play-in tournament this year, depending on who wins it and how it is just kind of portrayed and how they compare it to last year. That's my big thing. So it carried all this weight. Everybody know who's played, right? This year, let's say, I don't know, just a random team X wins it. Okay, well then how are we going to see that in the news then? And who's going to be great? Who's going to say something? Who's going to call it? That's what I'm looking for this year, other than the typical Ronnie, deal.
No.
Yeah,
right.
Dart, I would like to just jump in real quick. It seems like everybody's picked Oklahoma City, or at least a lot of people like them. I absolutely love Oklahoma City for the aforementioned reasons that I stated. They also were the 4th rated net defense overall last year in the NBA. And I think that addition of Caruso is just going to be so utterly terrifying for the league. There is a metric, an advanced analytic stat, which I don't typically like, but this advanced metric is called point of attack defense, which measures on the ball defenders. Alex Caruso was number 2 in that metric last season, and Lou Dort was number 1. Like, that is a terrifying prospect for the rest of the NBA. And Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is a really good defender. He didn't make an all-NBA defensive team last year, but he did finish 7th in Defensive Player of the Year, and he led the league in assists. So, like, when you look, and then you have Chet Holmgren now on the back end with Hartenstein, like, that is a very, very compelling team. And mentioning Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, this kid is an absolute stud. I mean, I don't think he's poised for a big year. I think he's just going to continue what he's done the last 2 seasons. He's first team All-NBA 2 years in a row. He looks like an absolute staple on that list moving forward for several years to come now. And like I said, he defends. He was top 4 last year in the 4 major advanced analytic categories. That's win share, value over replacement, box plus minus. So he's really, I think he's poised to become the MVP of the league this year, and Oklahoma City to win the championship. That was a very tight series against Dallas. Maybe some people think Dallas improved with Clay. That was the net differential in that series was even. Like, they scored the same amount of points in that series. It was just a few plays at the end that Oklahoma City didn't really know how to make to get over the hump and win that series. But every single player in their top 8 in minutes last year were 25 years or younger. Now they're a year older. They've been in the playoffs together. That maturation process is going to take over. I mean, I would be hard-pressed to see any team that's going to be able to beat them throughout the course of the Western Conference playoff runs. I would like to now just pose this question. No one really seems that high on the Timberwolves, which they got better too this offseason. They retained their team, which was, I said, 3rd in differential last year. They were the 2nd seed, I believe, in the West. No one's really high on them. They should be kind of an ascending team as well, I think.
They lost a few guys as well, though. And I just, like, they have Anthony Edwards as firepower, but then there is no 2nd or 3rd option, really, in my opinion. I know they have Gobert and they have Karl Anthony Towns, but I just don't think Karl Anthony Towns can give you 7 games of 25 plus points efficiently from the field, So I just think Minnesota's just one weapon behind Oklahoma City and Dallas. And I will say it was absolutely criminal that SGA got 2nd in MVP voting last year over Luka. That was absolutely criminal. I can't believe that happened, but I'll digress from there.
Well, it's going to be, everybody assumes that Luka is going to be the MVP this year, but the offseason acquisition of Klay Thompson now has put them in the narrative now in Dallas is that they have a championship caliber team. They went to the finals last year. They add a Hall of Famer now in Klay Thompson. So it's not like being the 4th or 5th seed this year for Luka ain't going to cut it. Like, he could do whatever he wants. He could replicate last year. He could average 35 points per game and a triple-double. If they're not the 1 or 2 seed, he's not going to be the MVP. So it's going to be a race in games between him and Oklahoma City. If OKC gets the 1 and Luke is like 3 or 4, it's going to be Shai this year. So just prepare yourself for that.
Dallas also got Spencer, Quentin, and Najee Marshall as well. I mean, they also added a lot of depth to their guys. If between Spencer and Quentin Grimes on any given night, either one of those guys can just give us valuable minutes, both defensively and offensively. Again, I think Dallas added more than most of the other teams. I think they actually improved more than the other teams at the top of the West. So I think defensively, I think they're going to be much better. And I think offensively, they've added a lot of shooting and a little bit of depth as well. I just feel Dallas is going to get back to the Western Conference Finals at a minimum.
It's going to be interesting. I'll say the one thing that is my takeaway, looking at basically all the upper echelon teams that were in the playoffs a year ago, I think have virtually all of them have improved. I think the Kings, I think you mentioned it, they're gonna take a big step forward just because they're not gonna have all the injuries they were dealing with last season. I think my major takeaway, one of them, is that the Nuggets are finished. Like, they're absolutely cooked. The $208 million 4-year extension on Jamal Murray, now tying Murray to the team for the next 5 seasons as the number 2 option. Like, that is essentially signifies to me that the Nuggets window of championship contention has slammed shut. Like, Nikola Jokic is by far, to me, the best player in the NBA, and he's got no shot to win a championship all the way now. He's going to be 30 this year in February. So he's going to be basically 34, 35, and he can't win for the next, like, into his mid 30s. So that's kind of a startling takeaway for me.
My last thing, and then
quick-
I'll pass it on. My last
quick
thing
question
is
for
that,
Scap. Real quick. Sorry, Scap. You can confirm that my breakdown of SGA was way more detail oriented than yours, right? I just needed to get that out there. That's it. Just a yes or no.
Definitely.
Because I still got to
Okay,
say
sorry, go ahead.
what I think.
Yeah,
Yeah,
sorry,
real quick.
go ahead.
I was going to
Sorry.
say, just because he was mentioning the contract situation of now it escaped me. Whoever you were just talking about, the Nuggets, right? The salary. The Mavericks have completely reworked their roster and their contracts. They are going to be okay, in my opinion, for the next 5 to 10 years in terms of who they signed and for what. They also got rid of Tim Hardaway. He was a $16 million absolute dumpster fire of a contract, right? So I also think the Mavs are not just going to be good next year. I think they're set up pretty well for the next 5 years as well.
Yeah. So just to start it off, I think that the Nuggets are going to do fine. I know they lost KCP, and they lost some of their depth with Reggie Jackson, who went to my Sixers, so I'll talk about in a little bit as well. The point of it being is that I don't really hate the Jamal Murray extension, because a couple years ago, I don't really hate it, because the point is that
Scap, what do you think?
I know last year they went and they kind of floundered within the playoffs. They lost to the Timberwolves, which a lot of people didn't expect. But I think that might have to do with just some of the championship fatigue. And everyone writing, or not everyone, but a lot of people saying that the Celtics are going to win again this year. It's rare that back-to-backs happen. Just a lot of people generally lose that vigor to go and do another championship run for one reason or another, let alone the roster changes, all of that sort of stuff. Now, I understand the rest of the team, they got Russell Westbrook as well. But to the point of it is that I don't really hate that. But just to bring it back for who I think is going to have the biggest improvement. So I think it's my son's up. He's going to come out here. So after I finish this, I got to deal with him. I'm going to go off camera for a second. With the Sixers, I think that the Sixers are going to be the biggest improvement for a lot of what Scap said. But another team that I think is going to vastly improve is the New York Knicks. I like the idea that they put a lot of the Villanova guys together again. They got DiVincenzo, they got Hart, they got Brunson, and then they got Mikal Bridges all together again. I like to see how that turns out with Julius Randle. I don't think that the Celtics are going to win again. I still think they'll make a deep playoff run. However, I'm not really sure with that. But I think that if I had to put, and this is not due to my bias at all, except for completely, I think that the Sixers are going to win the NBA championship this year. One more.
Well, they got Yabusele. They got Yabusele, so they're kind of locked.
That was a great pickup. We got to thank LeBron for that.
Yeah,
but another team I think is going to vastly improve too is the San Antonio Spurs. I think that they're going to do great. I think now I said this last year, and this again has nothing to do with my bias except for everything, is that I think that they can make to the play-in or the playoffs. They got Chris Paul. I think that they can make a move. They got Harrison Barnes as well. Like to see how that works out. But what were y'all saying?
Well, it's a shame that Robin's not on here, our New Yorker, to talk about the Knicks, because they will be interesting to watch.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And Dart, while you're off camera attending to your son, hopefully you can still listen to this, because I do just want to jump in on this Jamal Murray thing and address your point real quick. Look, Jamal Murray, everyone knows me most people when they think about me, LeBron, then probably Kobe. But now it's kind of growing to the point where my Jamal Murray hate is one of the things that is kind of well known or identified with me. Jamal Murray is a very good player. Oh my goodness, what's going on there? Sorry guys, did everyone hear that noise, or was that?
I'm going to go out on a limb and say that it was our resident pot smoker, not Richard Jefferson.
Anyway, Jamal
No,
Murray.
it was the other black one. It was the other black one. He knows who he is.
What's happened to the quality of this show? All these I'm not even going to say it. Just
Yeah,
led
go
into
ahead.
our previously
Keep going,
fine
Scat.
neighborhood.
Keep going, Scat.
Try as you guys may, you will not dissuade me from talking my junk on Jamal Murray. Last year was career highs for him across the board in virtually every metric: points, rebounds, assists, in every advanced analytic category, including value over replacement, which again, not a huge fan of advanced analytics, but everyone else is using them today. So why can't I? Value over replacement is generally considered like the preeminent analytic for overall measurement. Jamal Murray in the regular season last year was 35th in value over replacement, below players like Kristaps Porzingis, and Mike Conley was just above him in value over replacement in the regular season. In the playoffs, he was 93rd in value over replacement. And he was 1 point below in box plus minus in the postseason than his teammate KCP, who they let walk. Speaking of which, their depth is going to be a major glaring issue again. They have not had a true backup to Nikola Jokic for years. They tried to draft one out of Dayton. Deron Holmes, I believe is his name. He ruptured his Achilles in his first summer league game. He's out for the year. So yet again, they have nothing to back up Jokic. And Christian, it's spelled Braun, but I believe it's pronounced Brown. He's like one of their top bench players. And now he's going to, I think, be thrust into the starting lineup to replace KCP. This team is so shallow. It does not have the elite upper echelon supporting cast for Jokic. It does not have a very deep bench. They're not a good defensive team. The fact that people are going to put this season completely on the shoulders of Nikola Jokic when they should lose in the first round, it's going to be laughable for me to watch the criticism of him ensue this season.
Well, like you said, like Jamal Murray isn't even what I remember from the Timberwolves series. I remember the size of the Timberwolves just wearing Jokic down. That's where I felt like he was all alone. And the size is what I remember. Whether Jamal Murray was good or bad, he's not even what I took away from the Timberwolves series.
And Jamal Murray, by the way, guys, real quick, last point, is always hurt. Like, availability is part of your ability. And he has not played in 4 straight years. He has failed to play more than 65 games in any single season. I think he played 59 last season. He missed playoff runs, total full lengths of playoff runs already throughout the course of Jokic's career. I don't know why you tie yourself to this guy to the tune of $50+ million a year for the next 5 seasons. I think the Nuggets honestly should have either looked at sign and trade or maybe just lowball an offer, and if he doesn't take it, just let him walk and go full-scale rebuild in the middle of Nikola Jokic's prime in his career. I think that would have been better for Jokic than tying him to Jamal Murray for the next 5 years now.
Hey, Scott, I think I'm sorry. Go ahead, Dark.
Yeah, I think a big reason why they did it is that they didn't want to go and lose the chemistry that they developed. I mean, like you were saying, and like I had said too, they lost a lot of their depth. I just think that the chemistry that they developed, that championship aspect of that per se 1-2 punch, I think they're trying to keep that intact because it was proven to be effective a couple of years ago, and it's not so far removed. What's up, Hoop God?
No, I just wanted to just chime in on what Scap was saying about Nikola Jokic and the advanced analytics, because I had been doing just a little bit of research, and he clears in just about every category now. I'm not saying that's the end all be all. However, it does provide a little bit of context because we know who else they love to use that metric by. But I'm like, wait a minute, but why is the media not hyping up Nikola Jokic? And furthermore, I'm looking at the disparages here, right? So you got Jokic, who won his first title. Was it his 8th season or 7th season? Contrast to someone else who was in Cleveland for 7 seasons. And I'm like, okay, but look how they filled this roster out. Jokic didn't complain. He didn't beg. He didn't whine. He didn't cry. He just stayed pat. Hey, they've become a championship contender, and now they're trying to acquire those pieces around him, right? And I'm looking at, okay, if Nikola Jokic can get it done with this blueprint, well, why can't this other guy? And to your point about Jamal Murray, I think last year, to me, what I saw was his best season, because if I'm not mistaken, he was shooting, 50, 40, 90 in those first 2 rounds. And I mean, they just got hot, they got to the title. Now, when they played the Lakers, I saw he was struggling. He turned it on in the 4th quarter, but ultimately playing from behind, I don't like that. That's a bad precedent. I'm still high on Murray, but I'm going to give him this season just to see, okay, can he right the ship and get, back on par now? If he can't, then I might be like, okay, you know what? Yeah, they may need to bring in somebody else to kind of like re-navigate this ship right now, because I don't know. Like I'm trying to be optimistic. I'm trying. So I just wanted to chime in on that.
Scap definitely has AI running on his channel. He's still getting compliments. Now, now he was compared. Now he was.
You know what, guys? Feel. Let's do this. Instead of reading the super thanks, just read. Let's stop the show and read any compliment about me. Let's just do it, because I haven't seen any of them. I keep missing them.
You must not be able to see your own programming on your channel.
Scap kind of looks like Van Damme.
Yeah, that's an interesting one. Is that a compliment or not?
Never heard that one before.
Yeah, that's one of them. Oh, wait. Oh, never mind. I thought it said Scap stable horses. I thought somebody was talking about you riding on a horse or something.
Oh my gosh. I told you started using the word thrust and you guys didn't pick up on it.
I start roaring like a lion, like Shannon Sharp. Just cut my feed.
Oh,
Gross. Out of here.
Well, all right. Let's move on. Steam Engine. Well, who do you think is going to have? I know that we kind of talked all over the place a little bit, but how long ago, or who do you think is going to go and have the biggest decline this season? What team, or some other bad things that'll happen throughout the season? I know you mentioned the in-season tournament as well.
Yeah. So I know, Dart, you mentioned Philly, but I feel like kind of wherever Paul George goes, there's an idea of winning, and I thought that might happen, but then for whatever reason, life just kind of hits them. Whether it be
who the fuck is I am me?
I did see that one.
whether it be having a pregnancy he didn't want, or a horrific injury. So I don't see them doing too well. I think Embiid, like he's still riding the high off that MVP he shouldn't have got. I think it's over for them, quite honestly, in terms of bad. I'm really curious to see what happens with players and podcasting, and injury reporting and just general game reporting, because I'm noticing more and more that that's taking a toll on actual in-season. Like there's in-season consequences based on what's now just put out on social media. So I'm guessing there's going to be like some kind of regulation, kind of like when David Stern had the players starting to wear suits and all that because of AI. Also, I think your boy, what is it, Jeremy Sohan? That's the blonde hair guy out of San Antonio. Am I pronouncing his last name correctly?
He's not my boy, but yeah, I know who you're talking about.
Okay. All right.
SoCan or whatever. Yeah.
Never mind. Never mind. But right. So I think he and Wemby are still going to butt heads to an extent. I think adding Chris Paul to that isn't going to help. I want to see Wemby get a defensive player of the year. Kind of tired of seeing the Stifle Eiffel or the Eiffel Stifle, whatever have you, take that when nobody respects him in the league. I think those are just kind of some of the things that I've been thinking about at the beginning of the season.
Nick, what do you got to say? Oh, what's up, Ewich?
No, whoever's next.
Okay. Nick, what do you got to say?
I'll be quick. I think the Clippers in the West are going to have a fall. Denver finished second, so if they struggle at all, they might have the biggest drop off. Again, I think they probably still make the playoffs at least, right? But I could see, I kind of mentioned, I think Golden State might miss the playoffs. I think that could be a possibility. So I'll go with the Clippers and the Nuggets for the biggest drop off, who I think will fall off the most.
Excuse me. Anyways, what do you got to say?
Well, my comment was I'd love to see Scap Attack or someone else do an in-depth analysis of exactly how good Embiid is and how bad Gobert is, because I don't usually watch them during the regular season, and Embiid gets MVP. And then when I watch Embiid, I'm disgusted with him. I thought he was the second worst player on the Olympic team next to LeBron. And then Rudy Gobert, can he really get 4 Defensive Player of the Year awards and be as bad as people are saying? And again, I watch him. I'm like, Jesus Christ, dude, move. You know, are your arms so long that the brain signals can't get you to play defense? But he can't be that bad. I must be watching the wrong games. How do you get Defensive Player of the Year 4 times and be that bad? I mean, have you guys watched either of those guys in depth? Because I have to admit I haven't, so I don't know how to answer those questions.
Terrible.
I've seen Gobert only because the Mavs have played him the last 2 years in the playoffs, and it's just one of those things where, like, the modern day NBA in a matchup situation, I just think Gobert in certain spots becomes a big liability, right? And the only way you can really justify him offensively is to feed him the ball, and no one's going to do that. So I just think he's sort of like a fish out of water in the wrong era in a way. But I mean, he's still a good rim protector. I mean, he gets tons of block shots and rebounds and all that stuff. So I just think it's a little unfortunate. Embiid is he's good. Embiid is a good player. He just gets injured too much, and I think he is a little mentally. What was it when he was playing the under 21 college team, and it was like a scrimmage. And he came down and he acted like he got fouled, you know, it's like a scrimmage game against college kids. Like that kind of stuff with Embiid is what drives me crazy about him. He just seems kind of soft at times, but that's my take on Gobert. I think it's just a little unfortunate the era he's in.
Rudy Gobert is just a liability outside of the paint. I mean, they exploit him on those high pick and rolls, and like Nick said, he's a fish out of water. He has little to no horizontal movement. It's like, bruh, how do you award this guy 4 Defensive Player of the Year? That's just a disrespect to Ben Wallace. Like, I don't have a lot to say on that.
Scab, what do you got to say? Who do you think is going to be what's the bad for this season? Who's going to go and lose a lot more games, or what other bad things you think will happen this season?
Well, I mean, obviously I've been alluding to the Nuggets. I think they're going to take a huge step down. They were tied with the Thunder last year. Them and the Thunder both finished with 57 wins in the Western Conference last year. They were tied with the second best record in the NBA behind only Boston. Tiebreaker gave Oklahoma City the 1 seed. By virtue, the Thunder became the 2. The thing is, they're not going to lose a lot of games. They're still going to win 50-something games because Jokic is just that good. His on-off last year and basically every year is around positive 18, which is just insanely higher than any other player in the NBA. Insanely higher than any MVP candidate last year in the NBA. I think of all of the guys in the mix for MVP last year, Shea had the best on-off other than Jokic, and it was like 10. So essentially, Jokic was twice as good as any other MVP candidate. It's why he's won 3 league MVPs out of the last 4, and it should have been 4. He'll keep them afloat. He plays a lot too. That's the other thing. He plays like 70 games, 71 games every year. He'll win them 50. They're just viably not going to be a championship contender next season. So I think for sure, you know, they won 2 years ago. They went in as the favorite last year. And they are not going to be a viable contender next season. I wouldn't even put them in the top 5 favor lines when looking at the West and the East. I would pick at least 5 teams with a better shot than the Nuggets, if not more. Other than that, the Golden State Warriors, they look headed for the all-important precipitous cliff. I could see them. They're probably going to be in the play-in. I could see them losing one of the play-ins and not making the playoffs. So I could see a world where Steph Curry, I think he's 35 now. He's probably going to turn 36 sometimes next season. Looks like a bad kind of twilight for Steph Curry coming up. I don't know how much longer he's going to play. He obviously looks like he still is at a high level based on what we saw of him in the Olympics. Looks like physically he could play for a couple more years, but the surrounding cast there in Golden State has really dipped in recent years, and I think that they're probably not going to do a lot of winning for the rest of his career. So those are probably like the 2 teams I think are going to be the most disappointing this season.
I don't know how you can fail as an organization as completely as the Warriors have without it being intentional. This is when I start actually listening to people saying that Draymond came there to help fuck up the organization and make sure Curry doesn't win more rings than LeBron. And I know that sounds crazy, but like the incompetence of building that roster is just inexplicable.
Yeah, honestly, what they should have done when the Dre and KD thing spiraled, they should have immediately taken KD's side and basically just cut ties with Draymond that season and begged KD to stay. Like, done anything you can, even after the ruptured Achilles, just placate him, pump him up, say, KD, you take as much time as you need to rehab that Achilles. We're cutting Draymond. We're cutting ties with him. We want you. We're backing you. Had they done that, it would have been for both, I think, Durant and Curry, it would have been so much better. Curry would have won a lot more. Durant would have won a lot more. And that team would have been viable championship contenders for many years to come, which they're ultimately, they did sneak that one final ring in, but it ain't going to be any more after that one.
I'm going to be the devil's advocate here and say that I think Draymond is the glue guy of that team.
Fuck off.
I think he's the spirit of the Golden State Warriors. I understand your guys' point, but I think for what he brings to the team, I think there's not a lot of players that can provide what he does. And I think because the team was so shot oriented along the 3-point line, even when Kevin Durant was there, I think he was the pseudo point guard, or at least he was a facilitator from the high post. And I think that was an important part of the team. But I'm not going to die on this hill. Like, y'all disagree. I understand why. I'm not going to die on this hill like the Tim Duncan, Kobe Bryant thing. But
hey, Dart, I got
I was gonna say Bovada has Denver 4th right now in the preseason odds.
Hey, Dart, I got a hot take.
Right, which is outrageous to me. Four.
Yeah, I think it's a little high.
That is insane. Out of curiosity, who's obviously the Celtics and Thunder above? Who's the other team they have above them?
Celtics, Thunder, 76ers are 3rd, Denver, New York, and then you have Dallas and Minnesota tied at 6, and then the Milwaukee Bucks, and then it drops off pretty bad to the Lakers, Suns, Warriors, Grizzlies.
Right, which is insane because just with the depth of the East, I should say lack thereof, they're very top heavy. I would put the Knicks. I think the Knicks are the second best team in the East. By default, I would definitely put the Knicks odds better than Denver. And then I would certainly put Dallas and Minnesota above Denver in terms of the outlook for a championship this season.
So tell me, Dart, convince me that Sabonis could not fulfill that Draymond role. Had they
Thank
acquired-
you. Thank you. The shit that Draymond does can be done by a lot of people, and you don't have to have the cancer along with it.
Exactly. You have high character, low maintenance. Just going to come in there and just going to play team ball.
Wait, am I missing something? When was Sabonis an option for Golden State?
No, he's not. I think
okay.
you're just saying you could have a more quality person.
Yeah.
No, I'm not saying he's not a locker room cancer, all that sort of stuff, like knocking Jordan Poole out, for whatever reason, all that sort of stuff. I'm not saying he's like the best. I think for the system, he's the guy that holds the system together. But to the point is that I don't think there's a lot of guys. But yeah, if you put somebody like Sabonis there, sure.
I mean, it's like ethically, even if the Warriors did well, there's a shadow hanging over cheering for them just because he's that gross. And like if they would have brought in LeBron, I would have had to burn the city down. I mean, it's ready to be burnt at this point. Anyway.
Just going to go on a rampage across San Francisco or Oakland.
Go to jail
whatever.
for that one.
Yeah. Hoop God, what about you? Who do you think is going to decline the most this season?
The Indiana Pacers for sure, because a healthy Knicks, they're going to beat them in 5. I don't see them getting back to the conference finals. In the Western Conference, the Clippers definitely, like, that's just a dumpster fire. I mean, Kawhi is really starting to make me change my perspective on him. I mean, yeah, I get it. You're dealing with the injuries, but this whole load managing and I'm gonna play today, I'm gonna sit out tomorrow. It's just like, come on, man. Like, you're supposed to be the leader. You can't lead when you're not on the floor. Golden State, they got Buddy Hield, but I right now I just don't know. Like, I don't even know what Buddy Hield was doing before he got to Golden State. So until I can see them turn that around, I'm going to say they're on the decline, but they still got Steph Curry, so they could possibly, get it back on track. But definitely the Clippers, definitely the Indiana Pacers. I don't see neither one of those teams possibly. I mean, they could make the play. I don't see the Pacers getting past the first round. The Clippers possibly, but I don't see it. So those are my two. And I'm a Bulls fan, by the way, so nobody can say I have a dog in the fight. No, my team is not making the playoffs until we get some more prominent pieces.
The Sixers had Buddy Hield. We traded for him and then we got rid of him. But it is what it is.
Damn.
Before we drop the link, I just want to ask all y'all, what do you think is going to be the most surprising thing next season? Something that the kind of like the wild take that y'all have for next season that's really less predictable. What sort of event do you think will happen? We'll start with you, Hoop God. What's the most surprising thing you think will happen next season?
As far as teams or players or both?
Anything.
Watch out for the Orlando Magic. I believe they're going to make some noise. The Timberwolves, as long as they keep their core intact, I believe they could put up a challenge to anybody. I mean, the Eastern Conference or the Western Conference. I like what they did, but the OKC Thunder, I believe SGA is going to get the MVP. Like right now, if he can follow up on what he did last year and keep being efficient, playmaking, and just playing with like dominating within that framework of the team, I don't see how they can deny him the MVP. Of course, Jokic is going to be, he's going to have something to say about that. Can't never count him out. But the Bucks, I'm just really trying to see what are they doing over there. Because when they made that trade from Drew Holiday to Dame Lillard, I saw that and I'm like, they're not going to get past the second round because you're losing that defensive prowess and impact and playmaking that Drew Holiday brings. Granted, he's not the consistent shooter, but if you got other guys who can fulfill that and you need him to play that perimeter defense, you let that go for Dame Lillard. So I don't know. Like the Bucks, I'm really trying to see what they're going to do because I like Giannis, but you put up this fuss about, hey, I need this, I need that, and like you literally just had a championship contending team. So SGA will be my MVP pick. I'm going to keep the Milwaukee and the OKC Thunder. I'm not going to say they're my sleeper, but don't be shocked if they make the finals.
Did SGA do much whining or excuse making after they lost? I'm just trying to gauge his mentality.
Nope, absolutely not.
He's a throwback. He's an old school type player.
Isn't that sad that that's the best that I have to go with? Is did he complain less than everyone else? And I'll have a little more confidence in him.
Exactly.
What Scap. What about you? What's the most surprising thing?
I'm gonna drop a bombshell on everybody right now. From the dawn of basketball history, of their existence in Minneapolis, the Lakers, from 1948-49 season to the 2013 league year. That what happened in the 2013 league year, by the way, Dr. Jerry Buss passed away. So from 1948 to 2013, the legendary Lakers organization went to 30 NBA finals. That's 30 in 65 seasons. Basically, on average, they go to the finals every other year up to 2013. Once Dr. Buss passed away and his bum, loser, inept children took over that franchise, which also one of their decisions was bringing that certain overrated self-proclaimed GOAT onto the roster 6 years ago. The Lakers in the last 11 seasons have won 6 total playoff series, and four of those were in the sham make-believe exhibition tournament disguised as an NBA championship in the 2020 Orlando bubble. But I'm going to drop a bombshell here right now. The Lakers are going to win at least one playoff series next season. You heard it here first, ladies and gentlemen. Mind-blowing. I know.
I'll up you one. LeBron James is going to win league MVP.
Ooh.
I have a good one too. Are we just going to go around and say it?
Yeah.
Bronny and Braun will get co-MVPs.
That's kind of what I was going to say. I think Bronny and LeBron will go to the All-Star game. I think him and his son will go to the All-Star game. They'll get voted in. I think that, although it's a hot take, I think there's a very real avenue for that to happen.
Unfortunately, yeah.
So I'm going to quote Rick Bucher. How much is he willing to spend to buy those MVPs? Because we know that's his MO. He's definitely going to pay for those MVP votes. So how much is he willing to spend? 10,000, 15,000,
I mean, he's got billions.
45 million, somewhere in there. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah. All right. If AOH and Nick, you don't have any, if that's all you have to say about it, Speem.
No. I was going to say that Detroit
Mhm.
might have gotten even worse, but the only way to do that is to add games to the season so that they could lose more games.
It's been less than 14.
Dart, I do want to throw in just to you. I want to echo your point on the Spurs. I think they could maybe not even. I think they could avoid the play-in. I think they might be a playoff team, just because the Spurs, they tanked last year. They intentionally lost as much as they possibly could. Now, so not only are they going to be trying to win games this year, they actually improved the roster. I think Wembanyama might be an MVP conversation this year. I think he will win Defensive Player of the Year this season. And I think the Spurs are going to just solidly make the playoffs this year.
I said the same thing last year, and I was very wrong. but yeah, no, I think they realistically have a good shot at it, or more so this year. Let me put it that way. Nick, what about you? What about do you have anything else to add, or just
No, I think that they're good. I think if I have to have a hot take, I think Bronny and his dad will go to the All-Star game together, like get voted in or go together.
Mm-hmm. All right, Speem Engine, what do you think is the most surprising thing that'll happen?
So I'm the one who gets to go after Scap's 30-second commercial about himself. Thanks, thank you. No, I think this year we're finally going to see Devin Booker on a hot seat, kind of across the league. Hopefully, he and Bradley Beal and Dame, all of them just need to be publicly ostracized at this point, and nobody's really saying anything. I think you're going to get a big drop off from Jaylen Brown. I think his championship hangover is going to be somewhat intense. That's just kind of a theory based on how I'm seeing him move over the summer, and just like the relationship between him and Tatum. What else?
Drama.
Yeah, I don't like they. I feel like their relationship is forced. We'll see. I'm kidding, but I'm not. I think Stephen A. Smith will have a meltdown publicly this season. I think that he's been. I'm serious in the sense. It's funny, but I'm serious in the sense that he's been pressed all summer about this WNBA stuff. And he works 24 hours a day, literally. Like they just give him like nutrient paste and put a diaper on him and ship him from game to game, I think he's had his card called so many times, he's going to snap, and ESPN is going to be in a position where they have to start making some decisions, especially based on, what happened with Shannon Sharp. Shout out to Hoop God and the episode we did the other night. Any platform you'd like to choose, you can watch it there. That's it.
Oh, you stole my what? Oh, what's up, Hoop God?
I just said cardio is the word of the day.
I like those takes, though. I like the Booker and Brown takes. I like those.
Well,
thank you, sir.
For me, real fast, I wanted to because I forgot to do my part of the losing thing. And I kind of mentioned it. I think that the Celtics are gonna for the losing thing. I think that they're going to make a significantly earlier playoff loss or exit, but I think that they'll make the playoffs. I'm not going to go that hot with it, but I'm going to do this, and I'm surprised, and I think we should talk about this next episode. I think LeBron is going to flop off a cliff this season. I think he's going to go, and he's going to start blaming something about his how he's not going to be able to perform as much this year. I think that the Bronny thing is just going to give him a reason or an excuse, however you want to put it, to go and start showing signs of decline at least. So, who got us talking about the Cowboys? His priorities. Anyway, besides that, I squirrel out. My bad. I can't pay attention to the private chat and then also be talking at the same time because I'm an idiot. Anyway, no,
What
but
does
I think
squirrel out mean?
it means I'm ADDing. Like I'm just you never heard
He
that
sees
term?
one thing and it distracts him to something else.
I've never heard the term squirrel out a day in my life, and that explains a lot.
I haven't heard it.
Personally, sorry.
Yeah.
Hey, Dallas has some picks, some predictions on the season when you have some callers on.
Oh yeah. I'm gonna drop the link in a second. But otherwise, for surprising things, I think that. Yeah, I don't even know. I think that the Lakers, outside of them being pushed there, I don't even know if they'll make the play-in this year. I mean, they got a decent team, but other than the NBA pushing LeBron to get to the 10th seed again, to do a play-in run, I think that they might not even make the play-in.
But Dart, it is extreme. Like the last 2 years, it's been like plus 400 on the free throw discrepancy. Like they outshoot their opponents by like 400 or more in the regular season for 2 straight years, which is substantially more than anybody else, like 150 more than the second place. Like those are impactful moments in games. Like let's just say there's like a handful of 15 games that could have really went either way, and they intentionally have just pumped them with free throws, and they won like 10 of them, and they should have lost all of those. Like that is enough to get them at least into the cusp of the play-in tournament, and then you just do it again for 2 games in the play-in tournament, and they're in the playoffs then all of a sudden.
And as if what he said wasn't crazy enough, LeBron's complaining has actually increased each year. The free throws are increasing, and LeBron's complaining is increasing with it. So as long as they but am I wrong?
There's a stat for that.
And the stats of the
686 times last NBA. No, I don't.
The text he doesn't get called for gets more outlandish every season. You know, you mentioned Steph Curry being 35. Well, they started the whole what LeBron is doing at this age at 35. Imagine if they just put the effort into doing the same thing for a Steph Curry, who actually is running around on the court. And we are literally hearing announcers talk about what LeBron is doing at this age when he doesn't bother to join the other 4 players on his team about 40% of the game.
Oh, yeah. Also, I just want to point out, like Anthony Davis is hurt. Look, we cannot speculate that there will be health for Anthony Davis like he had last year. I think he missed 4 or 5 regular season games only last year. We cannot assume that will be the case again this season, but we can't necessarily assume that it won't be. So if I'm just thinking that Anthony Davis is going to be available for 65 or 70 games, he was the only player in the NBA last season that made an all-NBA team and an all-NBA defensive team. He's the only one. He was second team all-NBA and first team all-NBA defense. He's really good. I mean, if you want to look at advanced analytics, again, this is like the 10th time I've talked about it. I believe he's 3rd all time in player. He's 4th all time in player efficiency rating. 4th all time in NBA history. So, I mean, that guy, along with the Lakers, have a decent lineup around them otherwise. And his name's gonna completely evade me at this point, but the kid from Tennessee that they drafted with the other pick that wasn't Bronny James, he looks like one of the more pro-ready guys coming in out of the draft, and he's a great 3-point shooter, which is what that team kind of needed. So,
Absolutely. Well,
Not as good as the Warriors draft picks, but
all right. Well, I'm about to drop the link on my channel. So that's the easiest way to call into the show for the people that are new. Just come to my channel. Michael Jordan fans are the best, and you'll be able to hit the link and call in. When you call in, what's up?
Go ahead, real quick. I just wanted to address somebody in the chat. Somebody referenced Darvin Ham. I'm not sure how it came up, and that his firing was justified. How do you what are your guys' thoughts on that?
I think you should not acknowledge such people.
No, no, no.
Give the idiots a voice.
a legit answer. Because I saw that and I kind of had the same. I said the same thing you said in my head though. AOH. And,
well, okay. You know what a lot of them said. They're like, look at how he is behaving on the sideline, and yeah, he didn't look. He wasn't giving us a show like, oh my god, like do this and bring it, come in. Do you know how many coaches that describes? Like Phil Jackson looked like a statue most of the time, and we consider him the greatest ever. So you can't really base someone's coaching on the show they're giving you visually, if that's what this person wants to talk about. And no matter who goes to the Lakers, we've seen what Jeannie Buss is doing to the organization and how she sucks on LeBron. The coach doesn't get to be a coach, no matter who he is.
All right.
You're welcome for the assist. Go ahead.
All right. We got D Davis here. You've got a minute to ask somebody a question or 2 minutes to make a comment. How are you today, sir?
Oh, I'm doing good. I'm doing good. Since y'all was talking about LeBron, I want to say that this may be the season exposure for LeBron.
I don't know. That's not me.
Is someone playing Metal Gear Solid or something?
Funny how you can read the name of the game you're
D.
playing.
Davis, is that you? Fight through the noise, whatever it was. What do you got?
Okay. All right. What Cat Williams was talking about earlier this year, this is going to be the year of exposure. And the Lakers have, over 30 nationally televised games. And I think you guys are doing a great job of just spreading the message, spreading the word. And people are really going to start analyzing and looking at LeBron, and they're going to see like, yo, this ain't it. And because it's too many people just talking and saying like he's not the GOAT. He's not in the conversation of being the GOAT. And he's at full-time exposure right now. I mean, if he's not missing games, they're going to see the game. And it ain't going to be pretty because he's fallen off significantly. And over the last 10 years, he's become a worse player than he was 10 years prior. So,
look, I want to agree with you, but I ask you to observe the behavior of the lemurs, the humans who repeat exactly what they are told to say. Like, I'm not so sure people are making decisions with their eyes anymore. That's my warning.
Yeah,
you hear the compliments get more outlandish. Like, how many examples have I posted of them literally complimenting his point guard play as he's turning the ball over, and don't mention that he turned the ball over. I mean, they are shamelessly lying about his performances, and you go and look on social media and they are repeating verbatim what they heard the analysts and the Nick Wrights say. People we're not a smart species.
agreed. But you guys are doing a great job of just putting the message out there, and other people I'm seeing on Instagram where it comes off as hate, but it's truth. And the humanoids out there, they can only just repeat the same narratives and look stupid. So they can look stupid, continue to look stupid, but the truth is going to be self-evident this year. And
right.
That's my hot take for the year.
Thank
Absolutely.
you.
Bronny going to the All-Star game, that's crazy. But
You could get voted in.
It could happen. It could happen.
Yeah.
Fan vote.
That's going to start the purge. That's the purge if that happens immediately.
Here's the thing with that though. We added there. I believe there's 3 elements which are weighted equally. Maybe fan vote actually might be weighted more. I think fan vote is worth 50%, but then 25% of the weight goes to the writers' vote, and 25% goes to the other players and coaches' vote. So
I forgot that they changed that up recently. You're right, or a few years ago or something.
Yeah. So even if Bronny, I agree with you, fans might do it. But I don't think even the 50% weight of it will be enough to offset the fact that he's getting nothing from the writers and the other peers and coaches in the league.
But couldn't you see it maybe like even 25% of the writers and the coaches or whatever being like, oh, this is such a monumental thing and it's such a good storyline and we owe LeBron this. Like I could see them swaying.
Sadly enough, I could see the writers. I could see writers doing that more than the players.
Such a good storybook ending, you know, like all that kind of shit, you know.
We've seen a shift. We've seen a shift in the players too. I mean, what's a question we all get on our channels? They're like, why are players staying quiet about this? Why are people tolerating LeBron James? And we're all like, shit, man. I mean, maybe their careers are affected by it.
Collecting those clutch checks.
D. Davis, thank you for calling in. Appreciate you. We're going to let Dallas on. But thank you for calling, sir. Yep.
The Cat Williams thing had me freaking dying. Let's get on the line, boy.
Yo, what's happening, guys?
What's up, Dallas? Welcome.
What's up? What's up, AOH? How y'all doing today? I'll be real quick. What's going on? I'll be real quick. Actually, when I look at the picks for this year, I see Minnesota being back. As much as I hate the comments that Ant-Man made, I see them being back, and as sorry as Rudy Gobert is, I just think it's a super watered down league. And sorry guys are at the top. As good as Nikola Jokic is, I mean, when I see him play Embiid bodies him just about every time. So it's kind of like I'm not taking anything away from them. The guys, it's just the league is so watered down that it's kind of going to go to matchups. You know, depending on who you play. Like I think Minnesota will be back, but I think they still have a hard time with Dallas. You know, but I think Dallas will be back. But I feel like Luka and Kyrie got exposed so much in the finals defensively. It's hard for me to even look at them as being a team that's going to go all the way to win championship. You know, it always makes me feel like Boston is going to be back because at least Boston has the depth, and if Boston has the, they can play D. Because one thing about Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum, even when they're playing bad, they're still rebounding and still playing some kind of defense. They'll still get 8 rebounds apiece. So for me, when I look at the teams, even with OKC, I don't buy OKC because when I look at SGA play, as good as he needs a lot of help from the ref. So he gets to the line, like they let him push off a lot. But when you get deep in the playoffs and they don't give you that call all the time, you end up losing just like they did against Dallas.
Dallas, your audio is.
Hey, Dallas, are you able to try calling back?
Oh, let me just take
Dallas, your audio is.
Yeah, your internet.
Let me take
really massive.
Is it better now?
Keep talking.
Yes.
Is it better now?
Yes.
Yeah, it's a little better.
Yeah, but what I was saying was, it's hard for me to look at any team as being just.
No, it's not better.
Yeah, it's hard to see any clear-cut team being good because the league is so watered down. Even with Jokic being seen as the best player, the way Denver was struggling against the Lakers last year, I mean, it's hard for me to think that Denver's going to do anything. I do think Minnesota's going to be back simply because even though Ant was talking all that shit, they still have a lot of players. They still got a good depth. They still got Naz Reid off the bench. They're a very big team with a league with not a lot of big guys that know how to play big. So they'll probably be back. Dallas will be in there, but I still don't buy them because it's bad defense that Luka and Kyrie was playing. They just got exposed to me in the finals. Like that defense was unacceptable to me. You know, so for me, I just look at all the teams. I think Boston will probably be back because at the end of the day, even when things get tough and they can't make shots, they're still rebounding and they can play and still playing defense. So for me, it's just hard for me to pick because it's just so watered down. The league is like I just don't see a lot there. SGA, we're looking at him as an MVP, but when I watch him play, if he's not getting that call from the ref and pushing off, he really can't. I mean, it's just I don't know. Y'all tell me if I'm crazy.
Wow.
But when I watch the game, I'm just like, it's not one guy that I see right now that makes me feel like, yeah, that's it right there. I'm still like, it's up in the air for me. I think I think Boston probably will be back, but it's nobody is just glaring. It's just I don't even, and even I agree with AOH. I wouldn't be surprised if the Lakers do some stuff. To be honest with you, because as sorry as LeBron is, if you're gonna let LeBron push off and run down the lane, he's gonna get buckets and he's gonna get to the line because he's bigger than everybody else. So in the right situations, they can surprise them. They really could have beat Denver last year in the first round. I mean, really,
I think
every game.
Yeah.
They led pick that up. The Lakers led 70% of the series in those games against Denver. So really, there's no excuse for them to not have won that series. It's the highest percentage of leading in a series and not winning it since the year 2000. So the Lakers were definitively the better team in that first round matchup, which is why, guys, my hot take was that the Lakers would definitely win a series this year.
Yeah, I think out of everything Dallas said, what I took the most is a reminder that those games were close. I think we like to think back and say that the Nuggets swept the floor with the Lakers, but no, those games were very close, and LeBron James wasn't able to deliver during the difference-making moments, and that was the difference in the series.
Same was with the year before. So
yes,
last year was the first round and they beat them 4-1 in the first round, despite the fact the Lakers led most of the series. But even in the Western Conference Finals 2 years before that, the Lakers, every game was like a one possession game in the last 2 minutes of the fourth quarter. And the Lakers just choked every game away. And the Nuggets ended up sweeping them. So despite the fact the Nuggets beat them 4-0 and 4-1 in back-to-back years in the playoffs, really the Lakers were the better team. Actually, they just couldn't figure out how to win in clutch time because they're led by the most anti-clutch player that's ever walked on an NBA basketball court.
His fourth period turnovers are mind-blowing. It's crazy. And the missed clutch shots, but just the number of opportunities that they didn't even have because of his tendency to turn the ball over in the fourth period. It's amazing to me that people just wash that away.
Yo, also, while we wait for another caller, Dart, do you have anybody lined up?
Yes, we got with Lerv there, but
okay.
But yeah, Dallas, thank you for calling in.
Thanks, Dallas.
Thank you, Dallas.
For sure.
Mm-hmm. All right. Have a great day, sir. We've got with Lerv here. How are you today, sir?
Yes, sir. I'm doing great. How about you guys?
Doing well. Welcome.
Yes, sir. I got 2 quick points that I'll throw at you, and then I'll back out of it. But the first one was Jimmy Butler. I've been hearing some noise about should Miami go ahead and do what I would call a Bill Belichick and get rid of him before he's a liability, or should they keep him around to kind of honor what he's done for the franchise? And the second point was back to LeBron. There's a new narrative, and forgive me if I'm putting this out there for people to run with, but I've been hearing a few places that the reason he stands around on defense and offense sometimes is because he's so brilliant that he's got to be a coach on the floor, and he needs a bird's eye view of what's going on.
They say that about LeBron?
I've seen that in a couple comments and videos in the last week or two.
Sure, I've seen that. I mean, there's always a way out.
I was trying to think of the words. That's the way to put it. There's always an excuse.
Yes.
I mean, when he doesn't cross half court, it's because he needed to get a bird's eye view of what was happening and shout directions to everybody. It
doesn't matter what you say. It's like a judo. Whatever you say, it's like a judo move. If you push, then they're going to pull. If you pull, then they're going to push. There's always a way out, as you said.
His scoring wasn't that good in the Olympics, so they went from looking at scoring and talked about the glue. And then I put out my video showing that his version of glue wasn't doing a goddamn thing.
But you forgot forgot the one part about judo where you slam the other guy on the floor. So some of those takes you need to be able to slam somebody on the floor for some of that stuff.
Yeah, real quick.
That's all I wanted to say.
I was going to say real quick about the Jimmy Butler thing. That's always kind of a tricky one, and it kind of sucks as a fan and as a player, I think. But if Jimmy's like demanding a max contract as he's aging out into his later years, I think that's probably not a good move for Miami. But I think it's always good if you can keep a guy around who's done a lot for your franchise, as long as it's reasonable and as long as you guys are both on the same page, right? But I definitely wouldn't be giving him any kind of max or anything like that, or any kind of long-term 5+ year deal. I mean, I can say that.
What about the Warriors?
What about him specifically?
could he get to the Warriors or any team that you would think of who could take him?
I don't know the Warriors cap situation off the top of my head, but I don't think that'd be necessarily the move the Warriors need to make to kind of get back in the mix. I don't know how good of a fit that would be.
Me either. That's all I got for you guys. I appreciate you guys.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I want to talk about one other thing Dallas said. Who's that guy in the league that you got your eye on? Everybody just seems pretty content. You remember the Sports Illustrated cover when Jordan was going up against the Lakers for his first title, and he looked like a demon-possessed bull? Who looks like that anymore? Is there anybody that you're like, oh shit, he's going to single-handedly dismantle us?
I mean, you can make the case that I would push against this, but at times in last year's playoffs, Anthony Edwards looked like he might be becoming that. He, of course, fizzled out in pathetic fashion in the Western Conference Finals. His defense was limited significantly in that series. And then, like a little brat, a spoiled, petulant little baby, he just stormed off the court without shaking anyone's hands and then made excuses. So and now he's peddling this nonsense about past eras and stuff, not being as skilled. So I'm by no means high on Anthony Edwards, but there were times during that, like against the Suns and in one of the games against the Nuggets, you could make a case that you saw elements of that from him.
Yeah. For me, I think a guy that I think it's just the situation in the league, not having a dominant team anymore. I think that's kind of pseudo. A lot of people will give credit to the guys that are, win consistent finals, the dynasties per se. And it's something that we got a super chat that came in, but I don't know who it's for, but anyway.
Wow, miracle.
Anyway, with that said, I think a lot of it goes to the people that are consistently winning, because Steph Curry had the moniker of the babyface assassin. And I'm not saying it's going away. I think a lot of people still fear Curry amongst other players in the league, but I think that widespread opinion on people being so absolutely dominant coincides with the actual team success. So when the teams aren't going back to back, a lot of people just kind of put that stuff to the side, in my opinion, even though they're amazing players or people are afraid of them on the court.
The Luka disrespect is just unbelievable, man. Like, the guy scored 73 points in a game last year. He hit the game-winning shot over Rudy Gobert. I don't know if y'all remember the hook shot he had against Brooklyn where he essentially tossed it up from the right wing. I still think Luka is the most clutch player in the league right now. I don't really, in terms of a guy who could take over a game, I still think it's Luka. Even you throw in his passing as well.
I need to see him throwing people's shots into the stands at the other end for me to think of him as intimidating of an opponent as a Jordan. I mean, in that series against the Timberwolves, he won me over with some of that shooting, but it's just got to be both.
Luka's a fair point, because he does. I think what we're really talking about is just aesthetically, like, how does a player look? Like, what are his mannerisms? How does he behave on the court? Like, does he have that fiery kind of, I'm going to win at any cost kind of demeanor that we don't necessarily see? Luka, though, kind of was flashing that during the Timberwolves series, and he was executing on it. He was absolutely cooking that entire defense, which everyone was praising, unanimously coming out of the Denver series and what they did to Jamal Murray on the perimeter, and Luka just completely turned around. So Luka is honestly a fair point to make and a fair person to bring up. And just one other quick point. Tim Duncan was one of the two best players in the NBA for like 10, 15 years. And he didn't have that mentality either, or that he didn't look visibly on the court like that. He didn't have that appearance of an alpha player. So I think it's not, while we like to see that behavior like a Jordan or a Larry Bird or a Kobe Bryant, like that they had that absolute undeniable, like competitive, that competitive vigor that they wore on their sleeve that you could see. Don't think that Nikola Jokic, though, isn't you bring up Luka, and I'm going to continue to bring up Nikola Jokic. He is so utterly dominant. He can score basically any way he wants, whenever he wants, and he can involve his teammates too. He is such a clever player. And I think, honestly, he's an undervalued. I'm not saying he's a good defender by any stretch of the imagination, but he's not as lousy as a defender as many people paint him to be.
I just wanted to say thank you for mentioning the best player, the guy that was better than Kobe Bryant over that time.
Agree to disagree.
Hey, Dart, real quick before you take another caller, is everybody else as fascinated as I am as to what the dynamic is going to look like between Bronny and LeBron on the court when things start to fizzle out and not go to plan? I've never personally seen the father-son dynamic on the court, so to see it in high stakes, like the highest of stakes, right, to me is like I can't wait to see how it plays out, one way or the other.
Well, let me answer that real fast. I really think that it's not going to go and be a lengthy thing. I think they're going to pull it out like a gimmick every once in a while, because that's what it is. Let's be frank. It's not a real thing. It's just somebody to say, hey, LeBron's playing with his son, watch this dog and pony show where LeBron is the star. And it's really a circus act. So to the point of it is that we may see some frustration, and they're going to sell it like it's a real thing, but it's not a real thing. It's really just a marketing ploy to extend LeBron James' GOAT case by saying, well, he's so great, his longevity, and he's such a great basketball player. He even taught his son how to get to the NBA. So
something's going to have to give, though, because eventually that pressure is going to get put to to that organization. Like, wait a second, like, you guys have been dumb assholes for X amount of years. Excuse my language. We want to see some results here. And that's what you just said. I agree with completely, but it's going to come to a head quickly.
Well, they got JJ Redick there to blame. Nick Wright was setting up the Rob Pelinka blame this offseason, so he's ready to take the blame. Whatever dynamic fails on the court, as a commentator already pointed out, they always have a way to explain it, and it's never LeBron's fault.
Real fast, Jimmy James super chatted. I believe AOH. I saw that he said thank you, Jimmy James.
Thanks,
for
Jimmy.
$5 US. He says LeBron should glue some hair on his head.
If you see any of the HD photos, it looks glued on. I would hate to be on the court with that dude. Like he has got to just be atrocious to look at. He is one hideous beast.
Yeah.
AOH, you should help him. You should give him some of your tips.
My favorite LeBron hairline joke was before it seemed like it started to come back in and it was beginning to bald. There's always a joke that his headband would just get a little bigger and a little bigger. It seemed like he was wearing a massive headband at one point to cover his hairline. That was always my favorite LeBron hairline joke. I always found it hilarious.
What do you think he has spent on narcissism? That he could have been spent helping his community, like the great guy that he is. But honestly, how much do you think he has spent for narcissistic reasons?
Like on his body, not for professional athletic reasons, but just
makeup,
vanity.
Beard dye, hair growth.
Oh, who even knows? And he gets like the best stuff. That's the most expensive, right? So
now throw a number out. Is it millions of dollars?
I was gonna say a couple million, maybe.
Those Turkish hair plants, not that I've researched
before,
or anything.
I'm not counting the steroids. I'm not counting how much he spends on steroids or the chamber that he sleeps in and all that shit. I'm just talking about the superficial stuff. He's spending millions on that too.
Well, there was that one linebacker.
Hire some good teachers for your school with that money.
There was that one linebacker for the Steelers, James Harrison. He said he spent like $1 million a year on his body, like for recovery and stuff like that. So
James Harrison's half robot.
But that's a different category.
He's not human.
It is. Football's totally different. I understand.
No. I mean, physical performance and visual narcissism are different things.
100%. I understand what you're saying, but just to say guys spend a lot of money on their bodies, right? And even on the vanity side, he probably spends a ton.
I think the hair plugs alone probably, at least 5 figures.
Well, that's what it is. It looks like plugs were glued on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, his hair is I need to. Well, I think he should fire his barber or whatever, whoever does the hair plugs. Technically, I
It's
don't.
not
I
a
don't know what you
barber,
would
it's a
call them.
CGI artist. There's a big difference.
It's a CGI artist. It's just somebody. Yeah,
just going around post editing all his footage. Nobody ever sees him in real life.
It's just a deep fake of LeBron with hair. But
well, I mean, what the hell
just
can I
deep
say?
fakes it. Yeah.
Right.
But no, he shouldn't ask AOH for advice because his hair is terrible. Look how it's about to fall out. How dry it is,
dude. I look
good.
At it. I look good, and you know it.
I am jealous. That's the only reason why I'm saying it. So
we got a good topic. Get a basketball topic here.
No callers. One super thanks. We need to talk about race or something.
We got to talk about LeBron's hair care.
Do we have callers lined up? Because I do have something I could talk about.
Okay, go.
Yeah, we don't. This is the 4-5 version. We don't have the power forward.
I want to go back to Dallas. He was I think he was our first caller, and I just wanted to mention because I did address them earlier and asked why no one really likes them. Minnesota, they retain the main important portion of their roster from a year ago. I mean, they have 2 All-Stars from last year in Karl Anthony Towns and Anthony Edwards. They have 2 All-NBA defensive team selected players in Jaden McDaniels and Rudy Gobert. They had the 6th man of the NBA last year in Naz Reid. And somehow, some way, Dart, what in the hell were your San Antonio Spurs doing? They tank the season to accrue those high draft picks. Then they trade away number 8 to Minnesota, which becomes Rob Dillingham, who is, quite frankly, maybe the best individual creator in the draft. I know it's not a great draft, this 2024 class, but Dillingham has some offensive individual abilities. I think he becomes an instant impact player and contributor for Minnesota this year. I think Minnesota, if they didn't get the injuries last year, they might have come away as the 1 seed, and everyone just seems to have soured on them. I'm worried about Minnesota personally. I think they're definitively in the mix for the Western Conference next year.
I started looking at their roster when Dallas called in, and you're right, they didn't really lose anybody. You didn't even mention Mike Conley, who provided quite well whenever he came into the game. I mean, as talented as that team is, and they've gotten better each year that they've played together, for us not to have confidence in them, to me, that says we don't have confidence in the mentality of whoever's leading them on the court.
I agree with that. So it's really on Anthony Edwards. He's got an ideal scenario. He's insulated with perfect situations around him. He's got a great head coach too, by the way. So this is on him to take the next step and really evolve into what he thinks he is. He's been telling us he is that guy. In the Olympics, he said he's the number 1 option. Like, he's walking the walk. I'm sorry, he's talking the talk. It's time to walk the walk now and really show out and really emerge into that next level. There was some back and forth between the Thunder and the T-Wolves this year. Those 2 teams have a lot of vitriol towards each other. And I think it's time. We got to see, can Anthony Edwards, can he outdo Shai Gilgeous-Alexander in a 7-game series? That's pretty much what it might come down to in the playoffs. He's going to have to be that guy head-to-head against SGA.
And we need to see that. I missed the Suns Timberwolves series last season, so I tuned in after that when Edwards wasn't as impressive, apparently, because everybody says he was so good prior to the series that I watched. But I was looking at the output of his teammates, and he's in a very cush situation. Like, he was the 3rd highest scorer several times in the games that I was breaking down. So when you're in that situation, it's like it's hard to give somebody the credit of being the man, even if he had the killer mentality and wasn't telling us that he only changed his diet or his training enough to make it to the first round or whatever stupid comment he admitted to. I mean, I don't know how someone with a killer mentality doesn't train to win at all every day of their lives. But
real fast, for people that want to call in, because some people have been commenting how to, please come to my channel, and then you can hit the link and call in from there. And if you like this show and you like what I've had to say, please subscribe on the way in, as our friend uncommon sense, or he says like and subscribe on the way in. But yeah, come to my channel. Michael Jordan fans are the best. You'll be able to call in.
Come to my channel. Come to my channel and don't give Dart any support at all.
try to call in on AOH's channel. see how that works out. But yeah. So we were talking about this before, but I just wanted to see what your guys' thoughts are, and for the chat as well. Do y'all want to talk about is LeBron James going to flop off a cliff for next season? And we can talk about a variety of flopping things that LeBron can do next season, not just if his statistical output will go down.
You want to open that up here now?
No. Do you want to talk about that next week?
I think I could probably. I'm not sure what my schedule. If I can make that work in some way, at least for some of the show, I'll come on and discuss that.
Okay. Yeah, just generally speaking, yeah. Crickets. Okay.
No, I was gonna say I'm good for it.
That's fine.
I'm good for it. They're going to be in the chat listening and moaning about all we talk about is LeBron, but that's music to. Well, no, I'm not reading it, not listening to it. It's nice to read that level of vitriol. Yeah, let's do it.
I worked my ass off putting out a video that wasn't about LeBron, and it's not doing well. It happens every time I try and do something new, and everybody's like, "Wow."
That's what kills me. They're like, why you guys do it? Well, I mean, it brings the people in. It's what the people want. I mean, it's how it works, how business works.
I definitely didn't invent a channel to bring people in. I did it to combat the narrative, because the narrative was so overblown that it was just making me sick. I mean, the amount of lies going out all the time. We have to put out a counter video every day just to say, nope, you heard a lie again.
I know you're like anonymous.
Yeah. All right, guys. I think it's starting to
speaking of crickets,
pitter off at this point. But do y'all have any last words for the people with Scap Attack?
Thanks everybody for coming on. I appreciate it. I missed most of these aforementioned comments about how good I'm looking these days. So I'm gonna have to get on and rewatch this just to see that. So appreciate
Van Dam Horse Stick is your new nickname.
Appreciate all of you guys out there for your positive words of encouragement. And on a serious level, we are about a month away from the NBA playoffs. I believe opening night, I want to say, is the 22nd. So, as I sit here, it's the 15th. So we're like 5 weeks out from getting this thing underway. So I'm excited. I'm a huge NFL football fan, but of course, as everyone knows, I love some NBA basketball. So I'm excited to get it back, and hopefully we kind of just whet your appetite a little bit with this preview show, because there's a lot of good stuff to watch for in 2025.
We're warming up. We're getting back into the groove. I'll tell you one thing. Did anyone notice that during the Olympics, they already started advertising for the next in-season tournament? I mean, the amount of money they are spending to try. They did. The money they are spending to try and act like this is important has got to be.
So what happens? Right. So that's what I was saying. So what happens when the Lakers don't win it? They're going to look crazy out there with all that unused champagne and unused goggles and stuff. It's thank you everybody for joining us today.
All right,
I had a thing I was going to say.
Terrible.
I was going to say edit this whole, except for the funny stuff that I say. Edit all this stuff out. The last 2 minutes.
Wow.
And then all the stuff. Well, Scap talked about how good he was looking the entire time, so that's going to be harder to edit.
I wasn't. The people
but
are.
thank you.
I don't know.
You confirmed it. You didn't shoot it down.
People want it. I can't help it.
Modest people disagree. I have to do it every day.
Well, we can't talk about actual sports. We got to talk about shit like Tyreek Hill and Shannon Sharp and
airlines and men banging. End this. Start. What are you doing? Let Nick say bye. Let everyone. Let's go.
I did a terrible job today. I did this is the 4-5 comeback. I'm not awkwardly cutting people off like I usually do. The charm of that. But next week I'll start cutting people off now. But yeah. Anyway, Nick, what do you got to say?
Not much, man. Hopefully the Mavericks do good again this year, and that's really all I got to say about the predictions. So.
Yep. Well, we got Jimmy James backstage. I know we're awkwardly.
Just let him say hi really quick.
Thanks for calling in, Jimmy.
Yep.
We'll see you next week.
Yep.
We'll keep you on hold until next Sunday.
This is amateur. This is amateur hour by me.
It'll be about as entertaining as if
What
it was still live.
What a breakdown. What a fourth quarter
What do you got, Jimmy?
I just wanted to ask a quick prediction on, I guess, the Knicks, how that's gonna go with Randall coming back, and they have Bridges now. What do you think is going to go on with that lineup? Are they going to try to ship Randall off or try to make it work?
It's a great question, and if Robin hadn't bailed on us, you'd have a great answer. I can't answer it very well. What do you? Can anyone?
I don't think they're going to bail on him. I think they're going to play him bigger. I think they're going to use the other guys and play more of a small ball lineup because I think they're bought in on Randall. I don't think they're going to go and they're going to get rid of him. I think they're in a phrase, they're going to play more of a small ball lineup.
Yeah, I mean, I know they've been trying to. It feels like there's been rumors they've been trying to move off of Randall for a couple of years now. So if they come out with a slow start, maybe there could be some kind of panic button hitting there, and they might move him. But I think he probably sticks out the rest of his contract there.
What about the Bucks? Do you think they'll start to come together a little more and maybe compete with the Bucks?
The Bucks are an unmitigated disaster. The way I feel about what the Denver Nuggets are doing to Nikola Jokic is exactly how I feel about what the Bucks are doing to Giannis Antetokounmpo. It's just insane how they've made every wrong decision they possibly can from a personnel standpoint to a coaching standpoint. I love Giannis Antetokounmpo. I think
you think he's innocent in that though? In all of that?
I do.
You don't think he held them hostage in any way, shape, or form?
I don't think so. No, I don't think. Okay. Same with Jokic. These international players they're made differently. They're cut differently. They don't whine, complain, beg, like hold their organizations hostage. They typically stay put and play their hardest. Might have he maybe been making some suggestions, possibly? Sure. Might have some of those suggestions have been pretty assy? Maybe. But that is the job of the general manager to say, Giannis, you let us make the decisions. You play basketball. And he's not a pampered prima donna. He would have taken that and stayed in his lane and played. So I think the Bucks, I think of the Bucks as the same way as I think of the Nuggets. They got no shot, which stinks because to me, Giannis is still a top 3 player in the NBA. Arguably, he's like the second best player in the league to me. And he and the best player have no shot whatsoever to be in the championship next year.
Okay. Scap, can I cut you off and ask you a quick question on, do you think Lillard is included in that assessment that you just made?
I think Lillard was not a good fit for Milwaukee. Yeah.
But is he guilty for the trade?
I'll raise my hand and say, like, I was wrong on that. When they made the move for Lillard, I actually liked it. I was looking at, from a holistic standpoint of offensive production in like clutch time in the fourth quarter. Frankly, one of the criticisms on Giannis is he kind of bogs down at that point in time. He does not have a really consistent or reliable jump shot still, and he likely will not. So I thought maybe Dame could deliver that dynamic while retaining their defensive abilities. But I think his presence impacted their defense too significantly on the defensive end. And it's not working. And unfortunately now they're married to him. They're tied just like Jokic is with Jamal Murray. And I just don't see any way out of this purgatory for Milwaukee.
Yeah, I think Milwaukee's got a good starting 5 and they have an okay front court, but after that, that's it. Like they have a good starting 5 and that's it.
Milwaukee already had a good starting 5. I mean, they had a downtime and sometimes you're supposed to just work through that, but we're seeing a pattern where trying to stack teams with stars doesn't equal success. You got to have role players. You've got to have the man and then your great supporting cast, which, believe it or not, was what the Bulls were. I know people don't want to.
You need specialists here and there for sure.
All right. Well, thank you, Jimmy James, for calling in.
Thanks,
Thanks,
Jimmy.
sir.
Thanks,
Hope
Jimmy
you have a
James.
great day.
Have a good one, guys. Peace.
You too. Hey, real quick, does Brunson have another crazy year?
Yeah.
I think he's going to be. I think he's going to be good offensively. I mean, he was what, second team All NBA last year, I believe. Is that right?
Oh, that's it.
I think he was
Okay.
second. He was second team. That was his first All NBA designation in his career. So, I mean, I don't see him getting above that. I think his ceiling is second team because when you look at who filled out the first team, none of them are going anywhere. I mean, Luka's going to be first team. Shea's going to be first team. Jokic is going to be first team. Giannis is going to be first team. So really there's like one slot that's open, and it's probably going to be Tatum again because he seems to make first team every year. Just with his statistical output and what the Celtics are going to be from a team standpoint, the writers will probably throw him that bone. So I don't see any real way to penetrate that first team All NBA for really anybody, and certainly not Brunson.
I got a
Yeah.
topic. What's more
That's right.
mysterious, Doc Rivers continuing to get coaching jobs or Mark Jackson not getting any? Which one's more mysterious?
I know why Mark Jackson doesn't have a job because
Why?
Because the rumors are is he said some homophobic stuff at some point, and there were important NBA execs around, and that kind of went around the league, and nobody wanted to hire him because he was so openly homophobic.
Interesting.
I think it was a religious
I didn't
thing.
hear. I've never heard that. I like Mark Jackson as a coach, though.
He got a big screw. He got screwed big time, and he also talked about how attractive LeBron's wife was on air. So I'm good with that.
I know that we've already done our goodbyes, but I'm going to throw one wrench in here. I think Mark Jackson's a little overrated as a coach. I think that Steve Kerr really is the one that put that team together. I think Mark Jackson gets a lot of credit where I don't think he necessarily deserves the credit that he gets for how good that team developed.
It's ironic because I think Kerr's overrated. It's funny.
I mean, he's the one that won all those championships with them. So
Kerr could be overrated, but you don't. But I mean, how much do you really have to go on that Jackson?
True.
Was great.
True. Well, I mean, he assembled essentially the core of that team.
How the fuck did he assemble it? Coaches don't get to do the assembling.
See, this is why you don't do the adrenaline before the show. You're the one. Now you tell me.
I think if anything,
I said that before I thought about it.
If anything,
I said that before I thought about it. Go ahead.
Oh, okay. So you admitted
Yeah,
that
yes,
he's
I made a
pouring out of your
mistake.
mouth, and I'm the bad guy.
Proceed. Yes.
All right, I'm out. That sounds like a good ending for me.
All right. Yeah, everyone. Thank you, panel, for coming. Thank you, Chet, for coming. I got to sharpen up. I'm a little dull right here on this game. Not doing it every week. I think is got to get back. I got to get some reps in. Got to start cutting people off awkwardly. Start getting sharp.
It's better for me if you do that also. Just cut me off.
Yeah. But yeah, thank you all for coming. I thought it was great to do this show again. It's something I look forward to all the time. I was in Southeast Asia evading rabid monkeys sort of last month. So it's being at home in Hawaii is kind of a different feel for me. So that's probably part of it. But I'll be back in the game next week. I will perform better. I'm going to send a tribute to the 4-5 version of Michael Jordan. So anyway, thank you all for coming. We'll check you out next week. Might be doing this LeBron topic we talked about earlier about will he flop off a cliff? And for everyone, Michael Jordan fans are